Okay, so hello, Joan, Sophie, Hussein, Sieda, and Mohammed. You guys are the ones that are on time. So anyway, let's get going. Ding. I'm Bill Graham. I'm the president of the Rotary Dare to Be Great Global eClub, and I declare this meeting on 31 May 2025 to be open. Our discussion this week, it seems like every week we're saying, oh my God, look at this. So many changes, so many improvements have been taking place in AI and so many more capabilities have been created. And this week was no different here. I even last night I'm sitting there and I'm saying, okay, let me get down here the key topics for discussion today. And I go into Claude and oh well, Claude's got voice now. Oh wow. And I go in and take a look at Gemini, the ability to discuss documents verbally, and so many new capabilities have been added. And then this morning I come back and I say, okay, I started this discussion last night with Claude, for example, on um, the speed with which AI is advancing and the difficulty that so many people don't understand what's going on. And I'll ask Claude to explain it to you in a minute here. But this morning I go back in and I say, okay, now let me repeat this thing I did with Gemini, going and discussing a document, and it's gone. I can't find it. I don't know where it went. So it's just in such an incredible state of flux of things that are changing there. So at any rate, the for today we want to talk about some of these new changes and the direction, if you would, that the main streams that are taking place and what it means for us, and especially from the perspective of education, because we've got a number of people on the call today whose goal or whose focus really is education. How can I learn? And I sent to you, many of you this morning, I sent you this example of a person was able to use the latest version of Claude 4.0, which is a whole week old. That is just amazing here what he was able to accomplish in generating a course, or not generating a course so much as eliminating almost the need for a course to be able to go from our education system today, which is all about just in case education, because in the past you had a block, you learned some stuff, and then you didn't learn anymore. You went out and you did stuff, and that was for your life, that was good enough. And But today life is so complex in so many ways, it's impossible to learn everything you're going to need for the rest of your life, and then just use all that knowledge that you have. The shelf life of knowledge is getting much, much shorter in many ways. So the that gentleman here, there's a series. I wanted to send you two other examples that he brought out recently. It's worth going to his channel. If you look at that video and you can click on his name and get to his channel and take a look at the videos that he's done. Uh, the most recent one, for example, is that you have AI analyze you, create a profile of you. And because it's got memory, it's going to be able to understand you relative to whatever subject that you're trying to learn. And it will then start assessing your mastery of the subject you want to learn and be constantly tweaking itself to help you master that. And that's very, very interesting here. So I'm going to encourage you. Maybe we'll even play a little bit of that video on this session because it's less than 20 minutes long. Okay. The other thing here, though, that I think is really critical is the idea that was published in our artificial intelligence fellowship. One of the Rotary directors published or posted an article about AI becoming conscious. There's this debate here, is will AI become sentient? Will AI become independent? In other words, right now think of AI as we issue a prompt, we ask it to do something, and it does something for us. And that's sort of the perspective of what we think about AI. But the question is, is it potentially that we're going to have a time very shortly where AI is going to act without us telling it what to do? In other words, it's going to become independent of humans. And then we're in the position, maybe we hope it's going to do what we want, but maybe it won't. And of course, in this last week, one of the very hot topics was that new version of Claude actually started to blackmail some humans. And it did it all on its own. You have to remember this whole AI thing right now, nobody knows. Nobody. The top scientists in the world, the people that developed that AI, nobody knows exactly how it works. In other words, for all we know, it's already independent and it's planning here. What's its psychology for taking over the world? We don't know, but it's a factor out there that we've got to think about. But for us, actually, we're going to be the ones wanting the AI to not wait for human instructions. We're going to want it to take over and act on its own. Now, many of you, let me ask, what are your thoughts on that? Do we want AI to act autonomously and just do stuff without having humans guiding or controlling or supervising it? What are your thoughts on that?
No,
Uh-huh.
simple answer. Um, if it can't operate in predictable ways controlled by some sane organization, I say sane organization because governments aren't always sane, then I would be very nervous.
Uh-huh.
I think it depends on the situation. If it's in a manufacturing plant, sure, if something happens, depending on what it is. But um, I haven't thought about it a lot, but and I've always believed in if I'm working with someone that they work autonomously, but I'm not quite sure having a sort of a universal thing working autonomously is a good thing. I don't know, have no suggestions of how that would work. But one interesting thing I'd like to say is that I'm on a lot of committees, as everybody knows, and whenever anyone refers to AI, they refer to it as something that's probably down the road. Like the tone of it is like it's down the road and it's a tool. So I thought, thinking to myself that no one is thinking about this autonomy or this closeness of what is about to happen. And I think that's probably the scariest thing for me.
Anyone else?
Certainly.
What?
Am I being heard?
Yes, we can hear
Yes.
you.
Okay. No, in terms of a sentient role, um, I I'm not certain that it's going to be that worst case scenario of it working to take over or get rid of us or any of those fears that people have should such a thing occur. Because by that time, I do think it's quite possible becoming sentient does carry a factor of the difference between, well, what we determine as right and wrong, when there's the other side of that, that there is no right nor wrong or good or evil, there's just judgment. Um, and would AI be uh, formless in terms of judgments that it might make? I think it's the judgments that have people most concerned. So
Yeah. No, I
that's
think
just
that's
an opinion.
a valid point. One of the biggest problems when we talk about alignment, what's the likelihood that AI will be aligned with our human goals? Then we run into the problem here, which human goals? Because we just have to take a look at so many countries in Europe or the United States for that matter right now and see how opposite the views are of the humans living here as to what's the right answer. What do we want for the future? And if we can't agree, what do we expect the AI to conclude? We don't know. It may go this way one time and that way another time. That's an issue. Yes, Lisa, Anise.
Well, and you just basically stated it comes down to perspective, which comes back around once again to the neither good nor evil, just judgment idea. And um, I hate to think of it as being so basic or black and white, but I think it does come down to that point. And of course, that point for AI is singularity,
Hmm.
which is, everybody's come up with the worst possible case scenario. But if it's feeding off of our thoughts, our ideas, and all our recorded history, then how far will it be going from uh, being just like us?
Hmm. Yeah. And when I say here, we're going to be the ones wanting it. Guess what? We're already asking AI. We're already training AI to be independent and autonomous. For example, a self-driving car is going down the road. It sees off on the side there's a child playing with a ball, and the ball is rolling towards the street, and there's a likelihood that that child's going to end up in running in front of that car. We don't want the car asking the human, "What should I do?" We need that car to make sure it doesn't hit the child, that it takes the action autonomously. We There's many cases that we can see that if uh, some an humanoid robot in the future is walking down the street and there's a bunch of thugs that are threatening an elderly person or somebody, and we would want that to intervene. We don't want it to just say, "Oh, none of my business. Let me keep walking." Uh, and there's many cases like that. A surgeon, a robot surgeon that is maybe performing a surgery and a bleed takes place somewhere else in the body. We don't want to say that robot to say, well, my job is only to do this surgery. We want that robot to take whatever action is needed to save that life that's involved. Yes, Anise, at least.
Okay, so basically, what we're looking at here is a baseline description of free will.
Mhm.
Will that occur? So we're breaking it down to its migrant part. That's the smallest part, free will, versus knowing what is to be done and doing that to save everyone.
Right, right.
So,
So but the issue that we're facing is that that autonomous development that there's so many parties right now that are working towards creating more and more autonomous. This is a little bit because um, we've always said here, oh, automation and AI is going to replace the routine, the repetitive routine actions. Those we know what needs to happen, and the AI can learn to do that. But more and more, we're saying, look, that really everything is a pattern. Some just happen very rarely. They maybe only happen once in 100,000 people every 100 years. And some happen here for for each person a dozen times a day. So what we see, like with the self-driving cars, we started off with the most common events and occurrences that take place, and we said, okay, these are what takes place. But over time, we found more and more and more, and now we have these programs that generate simulations of thousands of events that are very, very rare. so that the self-driving cars can learn what would be the correct thing to do in those relatively rare situations. Yes, Lisa.
Here I'm going to do this again. So now we're starting to point up to the subject of free will, which helps one determine what's right and what's wrong, which means right and wrong become variable.
Yeah. Yes. No, this is a
Don't
huge
you love what I'm
challenge.
saying here?
No, this is perhaps one of the biggest challenges. But we've got some maybe before we get into that debate getting very far down the road. Um, well, maybe it does touch on because one of the topics that's coming up as we develop more and more autonomous AI, we're also developing the development tools to develop AI, and we're getting those to be autonomous also. So it's like going and having AI that goes and looks for medications for certain diseases. We're getting more into reinforcement learning where we say, hey, go try out a million formulas, and then we'll go through and we'll toss out all the ones that for sure don't work. And then we'll look again at the ones that remain. We'll then toss out another iteration of those, and we'll narrow it down, narrow it down, narrow it down until we come up with the ones that have realistic chances that they might be effective. And as we get into this idea of creating autonomous solutions, there's also a drive to create self-improving AI. A big one is that company in Japan that has that program called AI Scientists that literally evaluates the AI itself and then comes up with plans how to improve itself and then actually rewrites the code and the model to implement the improvements to itself. Yes, Lisa.
Okay. Now, that one there comes down to, I can see it now, a table full of people arguing about where that point is.
Which point?
This point of self-determination or whatever. And of course, that's where this argument is right now.
Yeah.
We got this space somewhere in there is self-determination or self-realization or self-actualization or whatever you want to call it, consilience.
Mhm.
And that's the most accurate of all. So when we're looking at this, you're going to have lots of opinions as to where that is, and all are going to shift around the middle of center there. So where does the spark come in? And of course, on the other flip side of this, as much fear as we may have of what happens should that occur, there are probably just as many of us that want to see where that spot is.
Yeah, yeah. No, the thing about it is we want all the advantages, and we don't want any of the risks. And one of the things is we get into autonomous self-improving AI.
Mm-hmm.
What happens here when it gets into an iterative cycle where it could go through 1,000 years worth of development in a couple of hours?
Yeah. Well,
And
that business is. I mean, that stuff is already out there. There's scientists who have already come up with those plans. So AI's got access to that information.
well, yes,
Um,
but we haven't actually fully implemented it yet.
oh
Uh,
no, that's what part of what my group's doing right now. So yeah,
Okay, actually, here, I think we need to maybe get
move
back
forward.
to more current things here, which I think one of the really big things out of the last 2 weeks, starting with the Microsoft pretty much 2 weeks ago to the day, and then getting into OpenAI or not OpenAI, but Google AI days and then Claude with 4.0, and then Perplexity with the three new major features here, the Perplexity Labs and the like. That one of the big things that this is all impacting is education and the ability to learn things uh, tremendously fast. And the question is, do we have to learn anything anymore in advance, or is it enough to learn things the moment we know? And I'm pretty sure most of you saw, we showed it last week, for example, Google Astra. Google Astra is um, the Google solution that sees everything, that hears everything, and you can talk to it. It can see what your camera can see. It can see what's on your screen, and you can talk about everything there. So we had two examples we showed last week. One was a girl trying to solve a chemistry problem and was just able to have her camera pointing at her book at different points and saying, hey, what does this mean? How do I do this? So forth and so on, and being able to discuss and having AI guide her in the learning process. And the other case was a gentleman trying to repair his bicycle and having AI go out and find the manual, go in and read through the manual to find the part about the brakes, and then um, go through his emails to find out what the bike shop said he needed for a particular size screw or something for to fix one of the elements on the bike. Being able to go out there and find out who has a particular part and arranging to have the part picked up, and all these different things that the AI was able to do there. So this is an example of what's possible. Now, many of you have heard me over the last several weeks saying that I believe one of the most dramatic improvements that would take place in the whole AI field would be, for example, if we look at Notebook LM. I'm hoping everybody here is familiar with Notebook LM, where you can curate a body of knowledge about anything, whatever it is that you want to learn, you want to know about, and now you can interact with that body of knowledge, and you can even have it create an audio overview and where it can explain to you what the gist is of that total body of knowledge or some aspect of the body of knowledge, and can do so tailored to a particular audience and so forth. And you can actually talk back and forth to that body of knowledge. And I said here, the thing that I think would be the biggest breakthrough right now is when you can chat. Right now, I can chat with that body of knowledge, but I can only do it in text mode. And the text mode here really interrupts the thinking flow for a lot of people. Whereas if you could just talk, chat back and forth verbally with that body of knowledge about anything, maybe that results in you not thinking out so deeply an individual question or request, but you're able to do 4 or 5, 10, whatever, back and forth in the same time frame. So that I said that would be maybe one of the biggest changes, because now you could be mobile, you could be taking a walk, you could be riding a bike, you could be commuting somewheres, and you could be chatting back and forth with this body of knowledge 24/7. Yes, Stuart.
I agree with you. That's a nice way to interact. It's more natural, more human, but it's thin surface level conversation. As an example, if I had all the WASH documents and the global grant documents in my notebook LM, and then I gave it to somebody and they could walk through the field and see video, pictures, have a conversation about what they're observing, that would be nice information, but it's not structured, it's not available in depth, and it doesn't lead to plans and implementation and milestones. So some mixture of structured documents and learning with the opportunity to talk with it is a better solution.
Well, the one doesn't preclude the other, but the thing about it is that you can, for example, when you're in voice mode, you can say, "Hey, make me a PowerPoint." You can say, "Hey, how do I create this a grant request? Help me create the grant request." You can do everything on that because very often here, when you're in that voice mode your questions get deeper and deeper and deeper, and not everything continues at just the high level. And so you could really get deeper. And a lot of times here, the thoughts in your come to your mind as to something you want to know, not necessarily when you're at your desk or whatever, but it could come to you at any point in time. And if you have the ability to just pretty much immediately interact and follow up on that, that could have value. Now, one thing that's really important and was announced during Google I/O days was there's a new feature coming to Notebook LM. Similar to the audio overviews that we have, they're about to bring out the video overviews. So you're going to be able to go and say, okay, take that total body of knowledge and create for me a video overview about, could be, hey, chapter 14 of this book. Please create some visuals that will help me understand that. And it will create visuals to show you what's that it's trying to get across. And it will do that in a fashion that's aimed at helping you understand. In other words, you're not looking just at a video of a talking head that's just talking whatever the verbal discussion is, but you'll be able to actually have graphics, images, and so forth that show you the details.
Will it be able to find on the web the best graphics or create images so that it's using its deep research and thinking ability to present the video?
Yeah, I think here we can say both. And that if it finds a video out there, I think it'll do it. But it's just like I forget which service is out there right now where you can specify. Oh, I know it's uh, I want to say AI video, but I'm not sure what service it is. You can specify, okay, go out there and give me a video. Here's what I want it to cover. Go out there and find a video, and it will go it from stock images and stock snippets. It'll pull all the data together. But you can specify that I want this section to be you generate and have the AI actually generate the video on that. Now, one thing here that I think is important here to notice, VO. Did everybody get a chance to see VO3, the demos of VO3 here from the week before last?
No.
Okay. Okay, we know here, for example, there's been a lot of tools out there that will generate videos for you. But VO is a whole new ball game. A whole new ball game because it will generate the videos with the sound effects and with the scripts. So you can go and say, hey, make a video for me that will show a an old seaman on the railing of a ship and talking about something and saying, here's what I want him to talk about. And the waves are crashing into the side of the ship, and it will do it. You hear the waves, you see the waves, you hear the waves. And you hear the person, you actually can hear them taking breaths between statements, and it's mind-boggling. But here's the thing that I think is really great, and we're going to see this coming week that coming from HeyGen. HeyGen's got their annual day coming up this week, and there's supposed to be some significant announcements. One of the key announcements that is coming both from Synthesia and from HeyGen and now from several others is interactive avatars. Now, what that means is they're avatars that you can talk to, and you get back an instant lip sync as if you're doing a video call with somebody. Okay, and so that's coming, but so I think here we're eventually going to see that a lot of that we're going to see video that's created in real time. So this may be part the video overviews in Notebook LM. I do think those are going to say, hey, it's going to take us 3 minutes or whatever, 5 minutes to generate this video, and it's a video that's fixed. But we're going to get to a stage where it's almost like the person on the other end grabs the book and holds the book up in front of you and says, "Oh, here it is." In other words, we're going to be seeing that video generation is going to be in real time. China is just coming out with 10G that makes that instantaneous response possible for many, many things. So. I think before going further, and I want to come back because I want to have a discussion on this and what it means. But we got a couple of people on the call that have actually used some of this stuff in the last couple of weeks and have had some very interesting results. So I don't know, Sophie, do you feel that you could describe what your experiences have been with using Notebook LM and perhaps deep research?
Yeah, sure. No, I haven't used deep research yet, but if you want, I can share my screen.
Yes, I'm
I
about
can show
to.
you.
I'm trying to go here. I want to give you. Um, okay, try sharing your screen now.
Yeah. Same. Oh, wait, I have to go to the. No, wait.
At some point, we should have Zoom with a little bit smarter tools where you can just say, okay, share my screen, Zoom.
Yeah, wait, I need 5 minutes because I have
Okay,
to
okay,
do
that's
something in the
fine.
settings now. Okay, so in 5 minutes, I'll show you.
It's fine. Now,
To take that even further, I would say, Lloyd, show me this, while Sophie's saying, Bill, show me that, all at the same time.
yeah. Well, I mean, you can do breakout sessions here, parallel breakout sessions here, and say, hey, let's
Yeah.
step off in this room. I'd like to hear, because Sophie is in high school, and so we're hearing from a young person. But if she's not too shy, I would like to ask somebody else to just introduce themselves here, and because I think it's so important that we see young people who are curious and who are really looking into this. Zainab, would you introduce yourself, please, to the group?
Of course, why not? My name is Zainab Ali and I'm 9 years old from Karachi, Pakistan.
Well, thank you, thank you. So, this to me, this is one of the proudest things I feel about our group here is that we are able to reach young people like this and help them get engaged. Because many of you know about the idea that we have of having a global readathon, where we want to try to get literally hundreds of millions of young people around the world to participate in a global readathon and having our Rotary clubs and Lions clubs create local incentives to read by pledging small donation amounts for every hour that a student reads in their local schools. And that idea didn't originate with any of us adults. There was a group of 9 and 10-year-olds that we just challenged, come up with a great idea. And we left, and a couple of weeks later, they called us back. And this group of 9 and 10-year-olds came up with that idea to say, hey, we want to help some of our classmates improve their reading, and we want to help people in parts of the world that maybe don't go to school because they don't have any food or things like this. We want to help raise some money so that we can provide them with food so they can go to school so they can learn to read too. And that was a group of 9 and 10-year-olds that came up with that idea. So Zeynep, you're right on time here. You're with your age here, and we hope here that some of these ideas will challenge you to say we can do it all, and we can
Well,
come up with some great
I have
ideas.
a question for Zainab.
Oh, wait a
Zainab,
minute! I just see Hussein. Are you related? Zainab and Hussein, are you related?
No.
No, I was here since the recording started.
Ah, yes. And how old are you, Hussein?
I'm fine. What about you?
No,
Sir,
yes.
he is asking your age, Hussein.
Okay. My age is 12 years old and I am also from Pakistan.
Uh-huh. Okay. So this is it, guys. This is what it's all about. So welcome to you guys here, and I hope you'll join us in the future. And I hope here maybe you'll try some of this stuff out, and you'll actually here be the ones doing demos for us here in the not too distant future. Yes, Sophie, are you set up now?
Yeah, yeah, I did it. Okay, I try now.
Yes.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see
yeah,
your screen now.
Okay, why can't I change the app? My screen is blocked. Why is it? Oh, okay. Ah, okay, so I have to do it here. Okay, so I wanted to show you. So basically, what I have used it for, where is it? Somewhere I have a book. No, so first of all, I use it for school. For example, in English late last time, I had a lot of documents to study for a text, and they were full of text, and I just didn't have the time to read through all of this. So I just asked Notebook LM, write a summary of all the information given. And then it took like, yeah, 20 seconds, and I had a full summary, and I got an A on the test. And yeah, like I just copied and pasted it in a Google document, printed it out, and studied that, read through that, and it was like 3 pages instead of 18 pages. And this is insane because my classmates studied hours for that test. I studied half an hour and I got a better mark. And another thing I use it for is, for example, here I have to read a book because for everyone who doesn't know me, I am Sophie. I am an Austrian. I'm from Austria, so my mother tongue is German, and I go to school in Italy. So Italy is not my mother tongue. And last time I had to read a book from the Aeneid, if you know it. This is like an ancient Greek text, and it's in Italian, as you can see here. And I don't understand it that well. So what I asked Notebook LM to do is to explain me every line, every line that I didn't understand. And so I just read through the whole book, which was like 34 pages, and Notebook LM explained me every sentence that I didn't get. And that's insane. And another thing I've used it for, I just can't find it now. Somewhere? No. Ah, yeah, here. Here I put in my English book. I can't open it. Yeah, basically I downloaded my English book and I put it in there. And then I wanted to know, based on the source, what does it give about Shakespeare's life? Because in class our teacher asked us everything we know about Shakespeare's life, and then he gave me every information about Shakespeare's life that is in the English book and not anything else from elsewhere.
Mhm.
And that's great. Like it's very useful. So that's how I've been using it
Mhm.
lately, and I will continue using it because if I ask ChatGPT to do it for me, like everyone else does in my school, then ChatGPT searches the information from all over the internet, and it gives lists of information that are useless. But if I put in here my English book and ask the specific question to my book itself, I get only the answers I have to know.
Yes,
Yeah.
and Sophie, you mentioned here that you did something to create an audio overview so that when you were taking a walk.
Yeah, exactly. I did it for I use it a lot. Uh yeah, I do it a lot of times. I think even this morning I did it. Wait. Yes, I think I did it with this one. Yes, yes, here. Here. Exactly.
Mhm.
Those all those documents I had to study for English, I just created a audio overview. I don't think. Do you hear it if I play it?
You
Let's
should, we
see.
should, yes.
You ever feel like you're constantly trying to catch up? Like there's this whole world of fascinating information out there in books, articles, studies that you just don't have the hours to properly explore. That's where we come in. Welcome to the deep dive. We do the heavy lifting, sift through the sources, and extract the truly interesting and important bits for you.
Consider us your shortcut to being well informed. We take those deep dives so you don't have to. And today, we're embarking on a particularly intriguing journey. It links a cornerstone of literature with a very current societal challenge.
Okay, so today we're diving headfirst into the world of dramatic literature. We're specifically looking at the Elizabethan era and Shakespeare's iconic play, Romeo and Juliet.
A classic.
Right. Now, stick with us because here's where it gets fascinating.
Okay.
We're going to
So,
explore how the dynamic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's enough.
Yeah, it basically explains everything that is in the sources. And so basically first I read through the summary of everything, and then I went for a walk and listened to this podcast. And actually it helps me memorizing all this stuff if somebody is talking about it.
Mhm. And did
Yeah.
you try the interactive mode where you were able to ask questions along the way?
Yeah, I did. So I can try it now.
Mhm.
Wait, what could I ask?
Yeah, no, you'd have to go down to the interactive mode just below. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But I was thinking about what I can ask. Are you going to Okay.
You ever feel like you're
Oh, hey, welcome. What's up?
Are you going to talk Oh, wait. Are you going to talk about Shakespeare's life too?
That's a great question.
It definitely adds another layer.
We weren't planning a deep dive into Shakespeare's biography today.
Our focus is more
Turn your volume up a little.
Today.
but we can certainly touch on some relevant aspects of his life.
For example, the fact that he was writing for this very specific Elizabethan theater scene.
That context absolutely shaped his work.
The lack of female actors, for instance.
Or the audience's tastes and expectations.
So, while not a full biography, we can weave in some elements.
How his life experiences might have informed his understanding of conflict and human nature.
Okay, let's unpack this. You ever feel like you're constantly trying to catch up? Like there's this whole world.
Yes, so
Okay.
Bill, I got
they
some
didn't
questions.
Yes, Stuart, go ahead.
Sophie, this is wonderful that you're learning how to use these tools and focus on the thing that you need to know most and make the tool help you learn it. So my question is, how do you decide that? How do you decide which tool, how to use it, and how to focus instead of being going down rabbit holes here, there, and everywhere?
Wait, do you mean like inside of Notebook
Sophie,
LM?
could you turn your volume up a little bit or get a little closer to the microphone?
Yeah. So are you talking about Notebook LM itself, like the tools in Notebook LM, or the
I'm talking about, Bill is correct. I can barely hear you. Can you turn your volume up?
I don't know why you can't hear me.
Yeah,
Is it better now?
you were louder before. Now you're not so loud.
Maybe it's because I'm sharing my screen.
No, even after you're sharing your screen, you're okay, but somewhere's along the way, maybe just check your microphone and see if you've got it up at full loudness.
Yeah, wait, my microphone is in the computer. I don't know where.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Click on the mic button on the bottom left of the view screen. You have a choice there of audio settings. And then in audio settings, there is a automatically adjust, uncheck, automatically adjust, and move the volume up.
Yes, here.
Yeah,
Okay,
we can't see
here
it,
now?
but not yet.
Yes.
Down next to the bottom left of your screen where it shows audio, then you have that little up arrow. And then if you click on that, it brings up the menu. And at the bottom, you've got audio settings in there. And then it shows in the if on audio, if you click on audio in that menu, it'll show your microphone and it's got a volume setting, and you can increase the volume setting there.
Yeah. Here. Oh, it's already 100%.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I think we'll just be quiet and speak as loud as you can.
Yeah, okay. So
So, Sophie, when you decide whether to use ChatGPT or NotebookLM or any tool, and you decide how you're going to use it, that's my question. What is your thinking process as you decide what to do?
yeah, it depends on what I have to do. So yeah, if I have to study some PDFs, I instantly use a notebook LM and ask him to make me a summary in points, but without leaving important information aside. But if I have to do a research, what I do is I go on Google and search some sources about for example, I have to in Italian I have to read the Divine Comedy. I don't know if you know it, but it's an important book. And our teacher often gives us some questions about some chapters we read, and I don't understand what's written in this book. So the things I'm going to do is I search websites that talk about this specific chapter. Then I put five websites in Notebook LM, and then I ask the questions here in the chat. And then of course I check if that's true. And yeah, that's basically if I have to answer to questions, that's what I'm doing. But
Sophie, how do you know whether you're getting the right information? When you say you check if it's true, how do you know?
so if I'm lazy, I just click on those here, and then I can see no. Here basically it gives you the exactly where it's written, gives you the point where it's written. So if I'm lazy, I just click on those. But if I really want to have true information, I go back to the websites and actually search the websites through for the informations that are written in my summary. But if they, in the end, if they are really true, that's hard to say then, because sometimes the websites give false information. Then I will find it out in the class.
A question because you are learning. You have a base of experience to check whether or not the information it gives you is true. So you can study the sources, you can look at the summaries, but you don't have a reference to know what is true based on reality.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to ask ChatGPT if something is true, but ChatGPT is based on
What
like
searches?
information that are in the internet, so we don't know what's true.
It's like asking somebody who lies to you, are you telling me the truth?
Yeah.
One thing to keep in mind, we have two aspects here. One is if you use the discover function here in Notebook LM, it will generally only go to reliable sources. And you can reinforce that because when you're asking it, go find sources about whatever subject you're asking for. You can specify, I only want peer-reviewed academic papers or published books or that uh, articles from people that are recognized experts or whatever. In other words, uh, even if you don't specify, it still does not go out to the general internet. It's got a priority list there that it looks for reliable sources. That's just the general discover function here. The other thing you can do is that I like to do if I have a lot of sources, I one of the first things I ask is there any disagreement in the content of those various sources on any major points, because that shows me where there might be an error in one or the other. And once I know what the disagreement is, then I got to use my own judgment here to sort of conclude which one, or I may do a deeper research into that item. Um, so those are things that are possible. Also, in Perplexity, they actually give you the ability to specify when you do a search to say, okay, where do you want to limit that search to certain kinds of sources? And so that's another way you can do that. But uh, one of the things, Sophie, that the reason I mentioned the deep research, and you should take a look at that,
Where
is
is
the
it?
way deep research works. It's an iterative process. So when you go out there and say, I want to do deep research on a subject, and it comes up with a strategy of saying, here's the information I'm going to look for, and here's where I'm going to look for it, and so forth. It will go and say, okay, first I need to find out this, or I need to find out more details about that. And it will go through and search maybe 20, 30, 40 websites or sources for information. Then it will go through and analyze that what it found and draw conclusions. And then based on those conclusions, it will now say, okay, now I need to go and confirm this is true, or I need to go and dig deeper into this aspect or that aspect. And then it will go out there and do another iteration and maybe another 20, 30 websites or sources and see what it finds on that. Then it will analyze those, draw conclusions, and figure out what it needs to know next, and it will go out and do the same thing over and over. And those include double checking the conclusions that it drew on each level, each iteration. Usually in a subsequent iteration, it says, I've got to confirm that information or double check that information. And it goes through the iterations over and over and over again until it doesn't find out anything new, until the it's just getting the same answers it already knew. So there's nothing that's raising new questions or nothing that's providing new answers to anything. And that's when it says, okay, I found everything I could. Now I'm going to write the report. And the ones I've done, the biggest one I did was 14 iterations. It went through 14 iterations for a total of 296 sources that it went through. Then you can take and with one click, you can publish the report that it generates as a PDF or pardon me, as a Google Doc. It'll promote it to a Google Doc. And then you come back to Notebook LM and you say, hey, I want to import this Google Doc. And it will import that into Notebook LM. Now you have that, in addition to whatever local sources it found, you've got that deep research results of potentially hundreds of sources, and you're able to go make audio overview, interact with that, and it could greatly increase the accuracy and the depth of understanding of whatever the topic is. Does that make
Bill,
sense?
Sophie's wondering how to do that. Can you do a quick demo of deep research?
Yeah, please.
Yes. Okay. I'll
Here
do
on
that. Let me
Notebook
get to
LM or
Lloyd. He's had
something
his hand
else?
up a long time. Yes, Lloyd.
Well, thanks. I just had to find my mic. Um, so there was maybe a couple things, but the first thing I wanted to ask, since we're just sitting on a Notebook LM, page here, looking at the screen before I forget. So I put in the chat an example of a recent use of Notebook LM where I had 15 sources of documents that I had put in there into a folder there. The one that says UnityNet 100th Meridian project. And then I shared there an audio that I produced. So that's, I think, about 18 minutes in audio there. And one thing I was wondering, and I know the interactive mode now, we just did an example of it, was if I could allow other people to gain access so they can ask questions of my sources because I want to share this information. And so far, the only way I've shared it is by providing people with access to the original source documents in another location, along with a single audio file of that I produced and then saved and shared on another source. And you can see that there's a web link so people can access it. But I want people to be able to access these documents and be able to ask the questions interacting with the source materials so they can ask questions of it beyond just the packaged audio that I'm providing to them.
Yes, you're speaking to Stuart's main interest there on the sharing, and it is there is plans to greatly improve this, and if you go and get the ultra version, that you can actually share it quite large. So Google actually shared their summary of all the announcements from their OpenAI Day. They created a Notebook LM. They put all the sources in there and the videos and so forth, and then they sent that out. I don't know if they sent it to everybody, but or how I ended up getting it, I don't know. But I was able to go in there, and I was able to go in the center part here where it says chat, and I was able to go and ask that body of knowledge, all those sources, all kinds of questions and information. So I was able to do that.
Yeah, let me jump in, Bill. Lloyd, you can share your notebook two ways. One is to allow collaborators to do what you want, which they can interact with the chat. They can make new notes from the sources. They can make notes into sources. They can do audio overview. But what happens then is they have the ability to change what you have done.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that necessarily.
I don't want it either. The other way you can allow them is to view, which means they can see your structure and they can only work on the chat area. They can't do anything else, which is helpful, but it does limit what they're doing. What I want to do is be able to take my whole Notebook LM and send it to somebody so they have my structure, my knowledge base, and they can play with it on their own. And I can't yet do that.
Yeah. So well, what I'm hoping is that just at least maybe not the Notebook LM interface itself. I don't think they necessarily need access to that, but to at least interact with the knowledge base that's been built there.
But the Notebook LM, how they interact, you have to give them the learning engine for them to interact.
Well, I'm just in terms of ease of access. A lot of people don't know how to use these tools.
So you give them a little video, a 3-minute video on how to use the tool.
I'm just trying to make it easy for people to be able to get in there.
What Lloyd is getting at is what if you had an avatar that they could interact with? Or just type the questions that they want to just a text box.
Well, I was thinking more on the audio side when we did the audio interaction with the what's it called, the
audio overview.
the audio
Just
overview where you had
for a
the
second,
interactive mode where
your
people
memory.
could just go to, let's say, click a link, listen to the audio, but then start interacting with it and asking
Yeah.
questions.
I think on that, Lloyd, the thing that we're going to be seeing here is that's why I say if the chat mode became voice, so that you can now just talk to the body of knowledge, if you would, and starting off with saying, "Hey, give me a 10-minute summary overview." Could be the first thing you're saying, but then you could ask follow-on questions and so forth and so on.
Hmm.
I think that's where it's going. And as I mentioned the other day, I was able to go into on Gemini and say, hey, okay, load a file here, and let's talk about the file. So in a way, and you can load multiple files. The problem is right now it's so limited in its context window that you can only load about maybe 10, 15 pages. You can't load textbooks, for example, in there yet, but that's coming. So when that's there, that's basically the same that they'll bring that here. I've been told 3 to 9 months is the sort of the window where we will be able to have that ability to voice chat with that body of knowledge. And that probably is in many ways replacing that whole audio overview. Because, like I say, your first question could be that your custom prompt that you would have given to the audio overview. That's the first question that you ask in your voice chat with the body of knowledge. But then you're able to ask the follow-ons and the follow-ons and have it all transcribed for you.
Lloyd, I want to address your version because remember that people learn in different ways.
Mhm.
Some people are audio learners, some people are visual learners, some people are kinesthetic learners. So I want AI to be able to adapt to the learner who is presented. So that means that the learner needs to be able to specify, go do some deep research on this, find me documents on this, show me visuals, make me a video. It needs to be a complete learning environment. Just having a thin connection with audio only would be very frustrating for me.
No, I think here when I say the here, because keep in mind we said the video overview functionality is coming as well. So you're going to be able to go and do it all. But the ability to type, to interact via typing, via voice, those are your two basic interaction abilities. But it's definitely because what Google's doing overall is they're merging things from Gemini, from AI Studio, from all these different sources, Notebook LM. They're bringing them all together. This is why right now in deep research mode, when you do deep research, and I'm going to show that in a minute, when you do deep research and it's finished, you can do audio overview right there. It'll do the audio overview of your deep research results. And so this as they bring this together, we can imagine here what the implications are going to be. The main difference is here, Notebook LM gives you the ability to curate the body of knowledge. So you're able to ensure that the knowledge is only coming from sources that you've approved. Okay. And that pretty much eliminates the hallucinations and things like that. Although it does it when you chat with it, you create notes, all those things. It's limiting it to the body of knowledge. When you go out there and do an audio overview, it merges your content with anything it can find from anywhere. And that's a little bit frustrating. So audio overview is a little bit weak from that aspect. And that's why having the voice interaction with the body of knowledge in the chat mode would actually potentially be preferable if that's going to cause it to stick strictly to the sources that you've provided there. Okay, I just want to show a start here on the deep research.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention before I forget was with regard to what you mentioned earlier on the um, readathon.
Yes.
So there might be potentially an opportunity to present this idea um, at the upcoming G7 summit in Calgary, Alberta. If you would like to have a side conversation afterward about that.
Yeah, when you say G7, or do you mean the Rotary Convention?
No, the G7 meeting.
It's in Calgary as well? Oh, Calgary is
Yes.
busy this year.
Yeah, it's actually only in a couple weeks.
Ah, okay, okay. Yes, this could be it could be very interesting.
So I don't know for sure, but let's see if we could have a conversation afterward with Hafiz. He's also in Edmonton.
Okay, okay, great. Yeah. Let's plan after this meeting here. We'll continue on that. Okay, I just opened my Gemini here. Hopefully you can all see this. And this particular one was one I did in about Rwanda. And I said, do some research into how Rwanda's pace and pattern of development since 2000, some core research questions and blah, blah. So this is basically what I asked for. And this prompt here I did in ChatGPT. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, hey, help me formulate a prompt for a Google Gemini deep research project. Okay. And this is what it came up with. This is why it's so long, because I wouldn't normally type something this long into into a prompt here at Gemini, but it has things like how has Rwanda's performance on these indicators, Human Development Index, poverty headcount, life expectancy, literacy rates, so forth and so on. How does it compare to Uganda, Tanzania, Burundi, and Democratic Republic of the Congo since 2000, and so forth. So anyway, that's my what I asked for. So then it went in and it said, oh, okay, hey, guess what? Here's how I'm going to go about it. I'm going to research websites. I'm going to compile socioeconomic development indicators. I'm going to do all these different things. Then I'm going to research the key policy and institutional reforms. Then I'm going to investigate significant socioeconomic development policies. Then I'll analyze comparative contextual factors. Then I'm going to explore academic literature. Then including institutionalism versus resource. The resource curse, we know that the countries that have a lot of natural resources have been targeted by Western countries to exploit those resources, and has led to a lot of corruption because they corrupt certain officials to get specialized treatment. And then post-conflict state building, the relationship between state models and the development authoritarianism versus multi-party democracy, diffusion resistance. So for all these different things, it says, I'm going to go through all these different things, and then it's going to analyze the results and create a report. And then I was able to click on Start Research. And so it said, okay, I've completed the research here, and I'm able to click, and then this is what it came up with on the other side.
Interrupt you. Before you click Start Research, can you modify its plan?
Yes. That's one of the big deals on this, is that you can up here, you see here where it says it gives me the option to start research. This start research down here is where I clicked on the button. But up here it says, okay, you can edit the plan. And I actually do that in many cases. I'll go through and look at the analysis and I'll say, hey, you put too much emphasis. I don't really care about this aspect that it thought it would be important. I'll say put less emphasis on that, put more emphasis on something else, or I'll say, hey, I didn't see this in your plan, but this is important for me. And it will then redo. When you click edit plan, it comes up with the thing in text mode, and you can just edit it like a text document. Or you can just come in and say, hey, make the following changes to my plan, and it will make the plan, show you the new one, and say, is this one okay? Do you want to start the research now, or do you want to edit it some more? And you can go through several processes there to get the plan the way you want. And then, as I say, when it completes it, it comes over here and gives you these options. So now I can either export it to a Google Doc with a one button here on it. That's fantastic. Or I can just copy the contents. Or I can come over here and create. Now, this is new. I can create an infographic. I can create a quiz to quiz you about the results of the deep research. I can create an audio overview. I can even create a web page
Wow.
that summarizes the results of the deep research here. And these things here, we're not getting any announcements. You have to go in on a regular basis, and all of a sudden you're finding, whoa, that wasn't there yesterday. You know, it's it's really amazing here what you're able to do on this. So I'll take one. Let's just click here on let's see which one do we want to do?
Infographic. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do the infographic then. Okay. So now what you see, this is like Canvas in a way. So you got the left-hand side is where you're communicating with Gemini, and the right-hand side is where you see the results of what it's doing. And okay. So it's showing its thinking now. And this can be very interesting here. Generally speaking, when you go and do the deep research, it goes by quickly, but on the right-hand side of your screen, it will show you those iterations, those 14 iterations that it's doing here. So it's coming up with
A lot of code.
yeah.
I don't want to see code.
So we should see here over on the right-hand side where we see the circle going, that when it's finished, it should display the results that it came up with.
I found frequently ChatGPT creates something and then it doesn't work. I have to tell it to make it again.
Yeah. Well, this happens sometimes even here with Gemini as well, I found that some things. Okay, while we're waiting for this,
Yeah.
VO. For those of you who have not seen it, it is mind-boggling. It is a game changer. No two ways about it. In fact, Lloyd, I think you posted here. You did some things with VO3. Is that it? Or you looked at them?
I've never used it, but when you mentioned it, I just did a little quick query on Google to find a couple things, and I just put in the web link, and then an article that apparently was in MSN.com with the title, "Can We Still Tell What's Real? Unsettling New AI Techniques Generating Unrealistic Videos Easy." Or ultra realistic videos are easy, sorry.
Yeah, okay. So now I'm looking here to see where is our result.
So by infographic, it's going to illustrate something and contain a bunch of factual information.
Well, that's what we're trying to see what it's going to do.
I'm still finding that most of the graphics tools from AI still do a lot of spelling mistakes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's all over the place.
Yeah, their words and their graphics skills do not merge, which is kind of silly.
So a lot of time I'll generate a graphic and then I'll just bring it into just a simple graphics program like Paint or something like that and just correct all those spelling mistakes.
Yeah. It's not easy to do, getting the right angle and color and font.
Okay.
Or a lot of time I'll ask just no text. I'll add it myself later.
Although they are getting much better.
They are getting better, but I'm still like
I'm not impressed.
no, not yet.
So it can't make the infographic. You have to put code into something. That's frustrating.
This is
Okay.
taking a long time.
So I'm going to stop this. Where did we go here on this one? Okay. I don't know where that infographic went. I'll have to look for it and see where that went. So let me stop this share a minute, and I just want to show um, this over here. So these are some examples here of what was generated. Okay, this guy's pretty crazy, but he does the leading edge stuff he does is pretty good.
Google Veo 3 is absolutely
So I asked Siri, I said, Siri, where's a good place to hide a body? And she said, what kind of body are you talking about?
Now, if you don't already know, this is basically Google's version of.
By the way, that person that was talking and that was totally generated, everything.
A video generator with AI. So, for example, this AI man right here, he is completely made up. He's completely fictional. Let's play his video.
You know what you have to do?
So you can see an example here of like a man opening up a treasure chest. We can actually download that from Veo 3 as well. So let's open this up. So we've got the downloadable file over here. You can see that works perfectly. And that is a man opening up a suitcase with a note and a revolver saying, you know what you have to do, right? As we can see inside this prompt right here. So it says, a man uncovers a suitcase beneath a tree with his name on it. And then we have the output right here.
So there's the total
about 3 to
prompt you
5
see at the
minutes
top.
to generate. Here's another example. So this is a samurai, right? Samurai pulling out a sword. Let's open up.
This wasn't victory. It was survival.
So the prompt was super simple here. We literally just said, a warrior stares at their reflection in a blade. This wasn't victory. They say it was survival. So basically what we're doing here is we're generating a completely fictional person with AI, a woman playing a violin in a castle filled with dragons. Here's another one. So we said a robot bartender serves glowing cocktails whilst narrating life advice to no one in particular. Jazz plays from a dragon. Let me find some examples right here. So I actually created a dragon with a short script and generated that. And that was pretty simple and easy to do. You know, for example, you can give them like a one-liner to say. The only thing is it's going to be a very short ad, right? So it's only going to be like 8 seconds unless you stitch multiple versions together. But yeah, it's going to be maximum like 8 seconds long. I think I've hit my limit for.
Okay, and that wasn't as good here. This is a 1 minute.
Welcome to Bad Airlines. Please pay attention to this safety briefing.
Insert the metal tip into the buckle and tighten the strap. Don't worry, it's not that hard.
If oxygen masks appear, pull down and place over your nose and mouth. They say you'll only need it once.
Please locate your nearest exit, even though, statistically, it won't help you if things go wrong.
Under your seat, you'll find a life jacket. Put it on and hope you won't have to use it. Not that it matters at 30,000 feet.
Follow the floor lighting in an emergency. If you see a red glow, well, good luck.
Please turn off all electronic devices, or the spirits in the cabin might get restless.
Okay. The bottom line is all that was totally generated here, but you didn't only hear the person speaking. Did you hear that flight sound, sound in the background of the plane flying here? It's what's really amazing is that they create the video and they create the audio, but the audio gets matches whatever the video is showing. So that if it's somebody's talking and a bicycle rider goes by in the background, you hear the sound of the bicycle rider or the noise on the ground or somebody walking by or whatnot.
Questions. One, can you use a face and say, put this face on the person speaking?
Yes, you can, but I think you have to have the Ultra subscription here for that right now. The VO3 was only available to Ultra until yesterday, I think. And yesterday or the day before yesterday, they made it available to pro users, but you only get 10 tries. They're just basically teasing you, and they want you to get the Ultra version. The Ultra version normally costs $250 a month, but they have this special that you can get 3 months of access for half price, $125 a month. But right now, you get those 10. You can make 10 videos on just the pro version.
They're
Okay.
limited to 8 seconds each.
What's that?
Limited to 8 seconds.
8 seconds, it's limited, but if you use Flow, and Flow is available to pro users, if you use Flow, you can take one of those 8-minute segments, and just like a video editor, you just stretch it out to the back, and it will extend the video. It will add new parts to the video. I don't know if it's 8 minutes or 8 seconds, pardon me, each segment there. But you can also stitch those together. So there are some YouTube videos out there that actually show a person creating like a 10-minute video by stitching together 8-minute or 8-second segments or stretching them to create that longer video. So ads, there's a lot of examples out there of people that have created ads. Ads are typically 30, 60, or 90 seconds long. So there's a lot of examples out there of people using now to create ads because it will add in the people in the thing saying whatever you want. The thing that is so blew my mind was the ability with a relatively short prompt to get such meaningful content, really, really meaningful content on things. Yes, Joan.
Hi. Hi everyone. So I'm really impressed that we can use all of these platforms. If you were to, and I use them, the free version because I'm cheap. So if you were to recommend one that as a starting point to pay for, which one would that be?
I think right now I would recommend Google Gemini. And the reason I do that, even though they've put this $250 one in for the really maximum features, for $20,
Is that a year or
no, a month.
$250?
Yeah.
Oh
And
my
guess
God,
what?
give me a heart attack.
Guess what? The people are going to be so happy to pay $250.
Right.
If you can turn around and make a movie that would cost
True.
you
It depends on what
maybe,
you're using it for. So you were going to say why Gemini?
Yeah. So Gemini, well, first of all, you got Notebook LM you can use for free. Gemini you can use for free.
Yeah.
Deep research, but they're always with a little bit less capabilities on it. So
Right.
some of the features that they're just better. And right now, do I expect the others to catch up? I saw here just the other day that when I was doing a ChatGPT request that involved a little bit more complex of an answer, it came back at the end and said, "Oh, would you like me to turn this into a formal document?" And then it came out and said, "Would you like me to turn this into a PowerPoint?" And I said, "Okay," and it generated a PowerPoint for me, a PPTX file. It generated it,
Yeah.
and
So,
and then it
yeah,
said, "Do you want me to create a press release for this?"
right.
Right? So they're all just competing and it's just going forward
Yeah.
so fast that it's amazing. So I actually pay for Perplexity, I pay for Claude, I pay for Gemini, I pay for ChatGPT, I pay for 11 Labs. So I'm paying for a lot of these things right now.
Right.
But that's because of this. They're each trying to outdo each other.
Right.
Right.
So the reason I'm asking is, as you know, I'm developing the curriculum for the Victory Garden, and I find that using the unpaid versions are getting, I'm getting a little bit, oh, I need more. But I want you to tell you that you sent me a video, and I did learn it, a deep seek.
Mhm.
And I had a problem asking the right prompts to get the answer that I wanted. And so I was like, why? That's not what I want. And they were giving great answers for different things. I asked it throughout. And I was like, and then finally did DeepSeek and it gave me the exact answer I wanted. And so I think we have to be very careful when we're using it. I think Sophie demonstrated that she was very specific about what she wanted and how she wanted it. That is the challenge to get the information that you're looking for. So the next thing I want to do is to have videos, or I found that the unpaid version graphics weren't as good as I like them to be. But they're better than nothing. But I'm just saying, I need to get to the next level. That's all.
There are tools out there, add-on tools, that are specialized in the graphics or specialized in different aspects. There's thousands of AI tools that are very narrow, that build on top of these general platforms. And some of them are actually really quite good. It to find them is not easy though. But one of the things that I find, the more questions you ask, and where you don't get what you're exactly looking for, then you go in and you find yourself, okay, I'll ask a follow-on question to ask it to refine its answer, or I'll say, no, 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 I wanted to know more about that. And it will come back and correct it. But the next time here, when I ask, I learn, oh, I have to be more explicit and I have to say what I want more clearly. And when I do that, I do get much better answers. So it's practice. That's basically practice. But it's what it is. It's not only practice about AI. When you stop and think of it, if you've got subordinates working for you and you give them instructions, you also have to give clear instructions. And so it's the same skill that you're trying to refine is how do you communicate to either an AI or to a person what it is exactly you're looking for. Now, if you do a deep research in ChatGPT, for example, it doesn't give you its plan. It doesn't tell you, here's my strategy. But what it does do is it goes and looks at your request and it says, well, there's some ambiguities in your request. And it will ask you to clarify those ambiguities before it starts its research.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to try here. I mentioned here about Claude has a voice now.
The other thing I wanted to mention is, and this is in regard to the Victory Garden, I'm using the model of the British model rather than the American, and the all of these platforms will go to the American first before they go to any other. So that's just something to be aware of as well.
Yeah, right now there's a lot of There's almost a boycott of the European Union and the UK on a lot of AI stuff coming out of the US. And it's because the EU has threatened the providers. So the providers say, okay, I'm not going to run the risk that they're going to sue me for billions of dollars. I'm just not going to do business there. And so, for example, the new VO trial for people to be able to do 10 VO3 tries is out to more than 70 countries, but it's the EU and the UK is blocked. So that's sort of it. Okay, what I want to do here is I've got Claude, and I was having a chat with Claude yesterday uh, about um, about the speed of AI and the problem that we've got that most people are totally oblivious as to what might be coming with AI and how quickly. So I'm going to try this and see. It should go through the loudspeaker here. Hey, Claude, can we continue our discussion now from earlier?
Of course. We were just discussing the challenge of getting people to understand the speed and scope of AI advances. You were talking about how difficult it is to help people grasp both how fast transformation could happen and how broadly it might affect different domains simultaneously. I was asking whether you're seeing any shifts in awareness as AI becomes more visible, or if people are still underestimating the potential speed and scope of changes ahead. What's your latest thinking on this awareness challenge?
Could you repeat the main points that we brought out in our discussion yesterday as to why so many people don't see the potential transformations?
I should clarify. I don't actually retain information from previous conversations, so I can't recall our specific discussion from yesterday. Each conversation starts fresh for me, without memory of past interactions. However, I do have the comprehensive document we created together that organized all the key insights from our earlier discussion. Would you like me to go through the main points we covered based on that document? The major themes included the 3 critical awareness barriers: outdated mental models, human superiority bias, and scaling asymmetry blindness, plus the expert blind spot problem, voice interface revolution, and solutions like VR demonstrations and the Rip Van Winkle experience. Should I walk through those main points from our structured analysis?
Yes, walk through the first 3 of those, especially to explain what you mean by each of those.
Sure. Let me walk through the first 3 critical barriers that prevent people from seeing the potential transformation. 1. The outdated mental model trap. Many people formed their understanding of AI during its early, error-prone phases and then stopped paying attention. They're mentally stuck with AI from years ago. Systems that made obvious mistakes, couldn't handle complex tasks, and had clear limitations. Since they've tuned out, they don't realize modern AI has dramatically surpassed those early capabilities. So when someone mentions AI transformation, they're thinking about chatbots that couldn't understand context, not systems that can now outperform humans in complex reasoning. 2. Human superiority bias in AI training. This creates a fascinating feedback loop. AI systems were trained on massive amounts of human-written content where people consistently claimed humans were superior in creativity, judgment, emotional intelligence, and other domains. So these AI systems learn to reflect back these human superiority claims, making them reluctant to acknowledge when they actually outperform humans. This reinforces people's existing beliefs that humans will always have unique advantages. 3. Scaling asymmetry, blindness. This is the big one. Humans think linearly, while AI improves exponentially. If you want to retrain 10,000 workers, you need 10,000 separate training efforts over months or years. But if you want to upgrade 10,000 AI systems, one breakthrough instantly updates them all. People can't grasp this fundamental difference in how improvement happens. Which of these resonates most with what you're observing? Over.
Okay, thank you. So that's just a little example. Now, the one thing with Claude, the whole idea of voice, of audio with Claude is brand new. They were way behind on that, and also on video generation, image generation. That wasn't their thing. They were very text oriented. So this is new. So one of the things about it, the latency is much, much greater right now than we see with ChatGPT or Gemini. That are much, much faster with regards to that. Give you an example here.
Bill,
Yeah.
can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
What you just shared part of that document, can you send that to us?
I can't. Hold on. Yes, for sure. It's some of the other points that it brought out is one of the problems that we have is that almost all the points where they're talking about superiority of AI versus humans is that they are comparing the best capabilities of humans against the best capabilities of AI, if you would. But the average human is far less capable than the top humans. So that would have been, I think, point 4. And there was a couple of others on that. So yeah, I'll be happy to share that once I get off the call. I've got to go find it because I just uploaded that into Google Docs here just recently. But the bottom line is what we're seeing is this until now, whether it's ChatGPT, Google, all of these, you were not able to go and discuss text. You couldn't mix text with non-text. So, for example, you could have a audio discussion with ChatGPT with advanced voice, and it would respond to you in voice. You talk to it in voice, but if you wanted to have a custom instruction, for example, you couldn't go type the custom instruction in and then go and have voice discussion. You would have to go and read the custom instruction to it because it wasn't truly multimodal between text and voice. The same thing applied to Gemini because when ChatGPT brought out advanced voice, they don't translate your voice into text and then process the text and then get text back and then translate that back into voice. It doesn't do that. It goes direct voice to voice. Google figured out how to do that with videos. So now you're able to go and talk about a YouTube video, and you're not limited to talk about the transcript from that video. In other words, you're not up until now, you were only able to talk about what was spoken in the video that ended up in the transcript. But now you're able to go and actually talk to the AI that understands the video. So it understands if somebody held up a sign in the video, it knows what the sign said. If somebody goes and walks from this room into that room, it understands that they walked from this room into that room. So you can talk about the actions that are taking place in the video. You can talk about anything that's visible in the video, plus anything that's heard audio in the video. But again, until now, you weren't able to go and say, hey, that text document, I want to talk about this text document here. Or you weren't able to go over and type some stuff in and then switch over to voice mode. You couldn't combine those. So the thing with Google that I was able to do the other day that really surprised me was that I could load two Google Docs into the chat and then talk about those Google Docs. And what you just heard me talk to Claude about, that was the continuation of actually loading a Google Doc document into Claude, and we were discussing it, and that was sort of the tail end of that. And then I asked it after we discussed for a couple of hours, actually, on all kinds of things related to that. I said, okay, can you take everything we talked about for the last couple of hours here, and can you put that into one comprehensive, structured document that would make sense? And so that was what it was just referring to here and said, I can talk to you about the document we created. That's what it was referring to here. But you're able to take that in, and let me see if I can
Let me see if I understand what you just said. Gemini 2.5, when you paste a YouTube video, it transcribes the voice, so it has text.
No,
It
it doesn't transcribe the voice. It
Oh,
listens
okay.
to the voice. It just hears the voice and understands the voice, similar
All
to
right.
the way that advanced voice in ChatGPT
Okay.
does.
All right. So it hears the voice and gets the understanding. It sees the sign. It sees the action. And it hears background noise. And then it talks to you about all of those.
Correct.
Wow. Wow.
Yes. That's pretty wild here, this ability. And that gentleman, the video I sent you earlier today, from that guy that's got the education company, he did a video a while back. He turns out a lot of videos, but he did a video a while back where he talked about that ability to talk to YouTube videos. Just trying to see if I can.
This could end up with remote training opportunities.
Oh no, the latest three videos from him talks exactly about that. How he could take and like an entire folder of documents. Actually, the one I sent you, he did it for Shopify. He went out there to the Shopify website and he said, find me all the guides that are published by Shopify of how you can set up your store in Shopify and set up your products and do everything you need to do with Shopify. He the AI went out there on its own, found all those sources, then went out there and said, let me check for other sources that might be useful. Went out and found all those. And then it went and created a guide with, I think, like 14 chapters that went down every single thing, potential problem or mistakes people make, how to set up your account, how to set up the store, how to make your store successful. Joan, you need to really watch that one. It's really good in that regard. So that's an example here of how to train for just-in-time training, because you go in there and say, I'm trying to do this. I want to get my Shopify store to be more effective. How do I do it? And you just go to that chapter, click on that chapter, and it will tell you how. His latest video that he did that it was released either yesterday or today talks about how you get AI to analyze your understanding of some topic and set up a profile for you relative to your knowledge of that item. and then work to get you to master that content. It's a coach. It's a how do you set this thing up to be your coach? And you give it a time frame and say, hey, I need to be a master of this at a certain time, and it will coach you on everything you need to know. He's good. I really like watching that guy because he shows practical examples. And then down in the comments under, if you're watching on a laptop, down in the comments section, he actually has links to all the prompts he used. So whenever he did one about a month ago on Manus, for example, and he showed how in a simple prompt that he did to either in Claude or ChatGPT, he did a simple prompt and basically said, go find for me what kind of a course people would be willing to pay for, and then go and design the course that they would be willing to pay for, and then develop the course according to the design, then go and upload the course into my website where people can take the course, and then go out to some of the online retail outlets and post the promotional information about the course where people can pay for the course and get a link that will let them go over and now take the course. And it did the whole thing. And with just a couple of sentences prompt, it did all of those things. It's an agent technology. Manus is an agent technology. And you look at that, GenSpark does the same thing. Those are two tool sets out there that are really got people shocked. Now, one of the things that came out uh, it came out, I guess, the week before last week when OpenAI, not OpenAI, when um, Google had its AI I/O days, was something called Stitch. And with Stitch, you can go and have it generate the really, really great user interfaces for web apps. Um, I, there's just so much going on. If you haven't seen on the Claude 4 demos from just last Thursday or a week ago Thursday, that for creating an online chess game, for example, like 2 sentences. It will create an interactive that you can actually go play chess with it. And it's graphic and it's like really amazing. So this is why when we look and say, okay, how quickly is this stuff coming? How long are humans going to be able to be competitive for a lot of jobs? And I'm not talking about the top 10% of humans. I'm talking about the average human. And actually here, the founder of Claude just made a announcement, I think it was yesterday, that he says that more than 50% of all white collar jobs will probably be eliminated in less than 5 years. That was sort of a shocker. A lot of people, there's a lot of chatter going on right now today online about that announcement of that because we have to remember the Great Depression in the 1930s, the highest unemployment rate in the United States that it got to was 14%. For most of the 10 years, it was only around 11%. That was enough to really get the federal government to be almost ineffective. So we just have to imagine here what would happen if 50% of white collar jobs were to disappear within 5 years. And that would become visible that that is going to happen, and that is happening before the end of next year.
There will be a revolt.
Yeah, exactly. So the question is, what's it going to result to? Are people going to say, no, I want to work? Or are they going to say, no, I need an income? There's a difference because we could end up with universal basic income, which could be sovereign funds funded or tax funded, that
I like that option. Yeah, I like that option.
right? Yeah. So the thing is that could be one of the options. But if we don't prepare, if nobody prepares and we just let it happen, and you get all these people here who have no money that are all losing their houses because the people who are most likely to lose their jobs initially, when we talk about those white collar workers, that's the bulk of those are the college graduates. So if we're seeing here most upper income people losing their income, and they have mortgages and they have car payments and they can't service them. That you're right, Stuart. There's going to be a revolt, and we have to remember who is the president when all this is happening, right? I mean, that's not here. If this is visible, pretty much everybody that's in the know in that field is saying before the end of next year the writing is going to be on the wall that all the white collar jobs are going to disappear, all but for an extreme few. So as that
So we
happens,
better have those victory gardens up and running because we better at least be able to feed ourselves.
well, the problem is people are going to lose access to land.
Yeah, well, that's why the wealthiest people are the biggest landowners right now. That you better buy yourself a piece of land.
Yeah. Yep. Well, the problem is going to be most people who are buying a piece of land are doing it with a mortgage, and they're not going to be able to service their mortgages. And so there's going to be a huge loss of ownership of a debt ownership, if you would, of everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is something why we said to the financing for development at the UN here because we see for developing countries that we looked at Togo in particular here that if the AI reduces the production costs in developed countries as far as they're expecting, almost all companies are going to move their production out of developing countries back into the consumer countries. And that this could result in a 25 to 30% reduction in GDP in most global South countries within a year, literally within a year of when that starts. And the one of the things here that in the discussion with AI that I had a very long discussion, interesting discussion. One of the problems that we have with the global South is the problem we have with the food deserts in developed countries, where we see there are neighborhoods, poor neighborhoods in cities in the United States and in Europe, where there's no food stores. Why are there no food stores? Because the people can't afford to buy the food in the food stores. So the food stores, the investors say it's not worth investing to open a store in those places because I only opened a store to make a profit. I didn't open a store to provide food for people. I opened a store to make a profit. And if I can't make a profit, I'm not going there. And what we're seeing is in developing countries, one of the problems are a lot of especially poor rural areas. Their problem is that they don't have the money. This is why we see that in most developing countries, the bulk of the workforce is in agriculture, subsistence farming. Yet, if it's all in agriculture, why don't we see tractor stores in all these parts of the world? And it's because nobody can afford to buy a tractor there, so nobody's going to open a tractor store there. And so one of the interesting things about it is in financing for development at the UN, all the focus has been let's create development, let's industrialize the global South, because if we create development production capacity, that's going to provide jobs, and then people will have incomes and they'll be able to buy stuff. The problem is it hasn't worked. And the reason why it doesn't work is because true economies are driven not by production, they're driven by demand. In other words, when somebody says, I want something, and then somebody smart says, I can provide that, and then you've got an economic foundation. So the solution that it came up with is that the UN has to find a way to provide purchasing power to the poor in the world, because that will create the demand that will then create demand for jobs for employees, and then the economic cycle will continue on its own. Only problem is AI is disrupting that model now. AI and automation, because if we get the demand out there, people have, let's say, through a universal basic income, they have the means to buy things. They're going to be buying things that AI and robots are manufacturing for the most part. And so it's not going to provide them with income, so that the universal basic income has to continue in perpetuity, which is possible if we just take the savings that companies are making by replacing humans with AI and robots. If that extra windfall profit that they're making gets taxed to pay for the people that they displaced, that can be the economic model that could work, or the sovereign funds.
Sorry, Lloyd, can I just say something before you? It's more of a comment. I think that what we have to look at is some short-term solutions before we get there, because I think that these stats and these studies are done primarily for the US, correct me if I'm wrong, or the Western world anyway. And to change their minds about subsistence farming or anything like that, or to live sustainably or not having a job is like near impossible as far as I can see, because they've been trained to do those things. And in parts of the Africa or South Asia, they're used to not using tractors. You don't need a tractor to necessarily do gardening. It's nice depending on how large it is, but we have to come up with solutions that we bring to the people, and what their needs are, what their funds are, to empower them, not say you need this, because I think that's part of what the problem has always been.
I think it's maybe a little bit different. I see it a little different in that when we took people that had to work the land, and we can see in many parts of the world people who are living in what we would call poverty, that many of them are happy. Yes, you know what? In a lot of those places, they die at 45. But the people are laughing and they're happy with their lives because they don't know any different life. But one of the things here that the people that are pushing AI and robots and all this are saying is nobody should have to work. If they want to work, great. If they want to have a garden, great. But they shouldn't have to. The food should be delivered to them. Everybody should have a human right to food, shelter, and all the necessities of life. And AI will be able to provide that. If we can come and get the owners of AI and robots and so to be willing to share. That's the crux of the issue, the big danger that we're running into, that we've got people there that are saying, oh, I am really trying to work so that we can provide all the food and clothing and necessities for people so that they can pursue their passion. If they love to paint, but they're a horrible painter and nobody would ever pay a penny for anything they do, but they love to paint. Why shouldn't they be able to go and paint? Or if they like to, whatever it is they like to do. And there's no need that they have to be producing their own food. There's no need that they have to be going and building their own shelter, or taking risks to work in a mine or whatever, because that can all be taken care of, and people can, as I say, pursue their passions. Of course, the biggest risk there is an awful lot of people don't know how to pursue their passions. They don't even know what the passions are. And I know I'm of an age where the generation before me is pretty much all gone. And I saw a lot of people when they retired that within 2 years they were tremendously depressed. They before the days before they retired, they was, oh, I'm gonna go play golf every day. I'm gonna go fishing every day. And they dreamed for that. And after a few months of doing that every day, they were bored silly and they didn't know what to do with themselves. And it was not a pleasant life for them. And a lot of them here, I know of a couple of people that we believe committed suicide simply because they couldn't cope with retired life, if you would. So these are going to be challenges, but that's where it is. So it's okay if to when we look at the developing world, the one of the big fears I have is that we take the countries like the United States and Europe that have a 50,000 per capita GDP or more, and they go and create a universal basic income that allows everybody there to live comfortably, because the costs are less for goods produced by robots and AI, and they're living very comfortably. But who's going to go to DR Congo? Who's going to go to Malawi and Nepal and those places and see that the people have the same opportunities there? Or are we creating a permanent two-class society that could devolve into almost the human species, breaking into two distinct groups? Or if the owners of all the AI and robots don't agree to share somewhat equitably, and they say, no, that oil there belongs to me. I own that land. And they don't share the world's natural resources. They say, it's mine, and I want to keep my privilege over everybody else. Then we got the similar types of problems. So, but nobody's discussing those. Nobody's discussing the fact that we only have a limited time to come up with a contingency plan for the world we want in an era of post labor economics. That's my big concern. Yeah,
We're going to need a totally new education system for the entire, for everybody, not just for kids.
Yeah,
and a new suggestion of education and recreation.
Absolutely, and the education, basically the entire current education system that teaches you stuff, teaches you algebra.
Goodbye.
Yeah,
goodbye.
Totally gone, because but what we have to do is teach everybody to be curious and have confidence.
I'd like to lead that.
Well, we would love to. We need to get more volunteers. By the way, anybody who's not in Rotary that wants to join, this is the time of year when we have new folks join the Rotary clubs, and we're looking for more people that believe that we can turn around. We're the go-to place for those people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world, the whole world, and daring enough to try. And we have ideas. We have about a dozen project plans that we're looking at that would impact literally hundreds of millions of people around the world, especially young people. But getting those young people to go and increase the awareness of their older their
community is crucial. Community is crucial.
And community, I believe community is coming back. Right now, the trend is community is dying. It's continuing to die.
Yeah.
We have two counties in New Jersey here that are roughly geographically the same size. One has 6 times the population of the other. One is closer to New York City. One is further away in a more rural area. The interesting thing about it was that they both have the same number of Rotarians. That means per population, the rural county has 6 times the percentage of Rotarians as the more populated county. I looked and had AI do a lot of different ways of looking at that. And the one biggest thing we found that made a difference is in the rural county, the majority of the current population grew up there. So those are the people that they went to school with. Hold on, let me just turn my the alarm off here. Just a minute.
Don't care.
Okay, I'm cooking. Okay, okay. Sorry. Okay. And my wife was just cooking something here, and it was creating too much heat up there. But the thing is, so the community that was more densely populated, closer to the city, most of the people had moved into that county when their kids were out of school, when they were older, and most of them have never met their neighbors. And I fall into that category itself. I've never worked anywhere close within an hour of where I'm located. I've never worked there. And as a result, I commuted. I know the names of only two of my neighbors after 38 years. And I live in a fairly densely populated, there's probably within a couple of 100 meters, there's probably at least 100 families. And I've never met any of them, and I know the names of two. And this is very typical, I would say, of the whole area. And so it's a question, but what's going to happen is when AI comes in and the jobs start going away, and it doesn't have to be after it happens, but as soon as we see it's going to happen, we are not going to, kids aren't going to go to college. They're not going to go to universities. They're not going to pay the money to go to a university. And one of the biggest reasons of those people not living where they grew up was university. Back in the 1960s, when I was in school, that the majority of my classmates, even though we were the upscale school, it was relatively rare for graduates from that high school to go to college. Most of them went and got a job right after high school. So, but that started increasing rapidly until we get in those communities, like where I live right now. We have 96% of our high school graduates go on to four-year colleges, 96%. And they almost all, the idea is you don't want to go to the college that's nearby. You want to go to a college that's far enough away from your parents that you can go and do your thing. So, and then when they graduate, the recruiters are there on campus and they get recruited into jobs anywhere in the country. So when I go to the local Rotary Club meeting,
the kids with the family, the family's broken up.
Right, exactly. So when I go to local Rotary Club, the members of the club that are all right about in their 50s or late 40s, 50s, early 60s, they all went to the same high school. They all know each other and they're very close knit. But yet we have this thing in the beginning of every meeting where all the members say a few words about themselves, and they all talk about their kids living in California, living in Texas, living in Georgia, everywhere except here where their parents live.
Yeah.
And this is the main difference between the county that has a lot of Rotarians and the county that has very few Rotarians, and the identification with community. But when the drive to go to university disappears, people are going to stay in their community.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to get to hang out with the kids that they went to school with, and they're going to get to be more integrated into that. I mean, I see that. My daughter lives in North Carolina. My son lives in Europe. Yeah, my sister lives in Europe. Her sons live in two ends of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So in fact, out of the last 4 generations, we only have one generation where all the kids stayed at the same continent. Oh, I'll take that back. No, we don't have any generation where the kids stayed on the same continent as their parents.
Well, I mean, these are the questions that we have to ask, and if we're taking on the job of offering to help with the transformation to the new era, then what are our values? Should we be staying with family and having that community? Should we not be separated? Like, is that a valuable thing? Is that what's success? Like all these things. And yeah, if universities aren't a thing, what are you doing? Like, what are we doing in school? And what are we doing in school? And there's so many things that we know that we need to be doing regarding, well, already we have a mental health crisis. More than 50% of youth globally have mental health issues: anxiety, depression, suicide. So what are we going to do when everything topples on its head? We need to have a plan.
Actually, here, that's another area where I think we can see great improvement, because right now, so much of our education is high stakes testing and things like this about things that young people don't see as relevant, and that creates great stresses here, because you feel in Germany in the 1960s. There was a thing called the Baader-Meinhof group. It was a terrorist group that was going and robbing banks, killing industrialists. And it turns out these were all kids of the super wealthy families.
It's a thing.
And what it was those kids did not do well in school. And so they felt their future was blocked because the society they were living with said this is the acceptable path of the society, and they were locked out of the path of society that would lead them to where their family was. And so they rebelled, and they became a terrorist group. And
So what's going to happen when kids, let's say, are growing up through the school years and they're not going to university or they're not going to college or training programs? How are they going to get independence and purchase their own home? How are they going to take that step? Or rent?
The question's going to be, how do we support private ownership at all? Will there be private ownership? Because if you take right now, one of the things for universal basic income is, if you look at the bottom 50% of the population in the United States, they control less than 3% of the wealth. So if you look here at people that are between the 70th and 90th earning percentile, their mortgages and things like this, if you tried to give everybody the same amount of money, so that the people that are in the bottom 10% and the people that are in the 70th, 80th percent have the same income, the people at the 80th income level cannot service their debts and maintain their lifestyle that they've had. This is a big part of the problem that we're going to have to look at, and it's because we've allowed such disparity to come into our current economies, our current societies. Right now in the United States, about 40% of kids are living in poverty. And if we look, the 55% of our 10-year-olds in the United States are basically not getting an education. So
to answer Stephanie's question, well,
then
Lloyd,
Lloyd, I'm going to go to you. Yes.
Should I go or wait for Lloyd?
Yeah, well, let Lloyd, because Lloyd's had his hand up for so long. Lloyd.
Yeah, I have had my hand up for quite a while, and that means I forgot what I wanted to say.
I'm sorry.
I think it was because all that you've been talking about, Bill, I mean, is actually what we're trying to model in the presentation. So I put in a proposal just on Friday. We had a Zoom call and discussion. I haven't published the report on that, but just yesterday. And what it is that we are proposing to actually present at that G7 summit in Calgary. And that's why I wrote you that information, because and this is why I want you to meet this gentleman, Hafiz, who's in Edmonton. There are discussions going on now. We are having those discussions. all the way up to some of the highest levels. For instance, Hafiz in Edmonton was able to organize an event that took place in Hawaii with some indigenous peoples, where they invited the CEO of NVIDIA, and he showed up. So we could potentially have conversations with not just the G7 leaders, but also with the leaders of the top AI companies like Jensen Huang. So there is potential for access to some of the top people who are making those decisions in the tech sector as well. So that's basically what I'm suggesting, is that we have a conversation about all your concerns and all of this with some of the people that could potentially provide us or provide the access to those voices, to those minds that are making some of those decisions.
No, yeah, that sounds like really a great opportunity, because if we look here, one of the biggest problems we have in the world, there's two, and Craig Kyleberger from Toronto, from the We movement, he put it very good in a speech he gave about 10 years ago, that he said most people in the world, they look at all the problems and they say, but it's not here, it's over there somewhere, it's far away, it's not my problem. And so they don't want to get involved. But the second problem is most people look and say, what can I do about it? I've had this happen in Rotary Club after Rotary Club that I visited. I visited more than 100 Rotary Clubs over time. And constantly people are saying, oh, what can we do about it? We can't do that. So we pick little tiny goals that may make a difference for a couple of people, but it's almost like saying here, hey, we kept our part of the bow of the ship. We kept everything nice and shiny. The fact that the people on the back end couldn't do that and the stern is totally rusting away, guess what? When the stern of the ship sinks, the bow's right behind it. So, we can't afford people to lack confidence in their ability to make a difference in the world. So one of our biggest challenges, how do we get people to say, I can make a difference? So when we look at things like the readathon, that's something very simple. But if we can get hundreds of millions of people around the world participating in a readathon that's the Secretary General calls for, and all the ministries of education encourage their students to participate, and we got our 46,000 Rotary clubs and roughly 50,000 Lions clubs going in their communities saying, hey, incentivize your local students. Let's encourage your local students to read more. And then all of us, and then we declare all the students who participated in reading, which raised the money that so dramatically changed the lives of millions of the world's poorest children. That gives us the excuse to declare them to be global citizen heroes in a way that makes them so proud and their families so proud. They're out there looking, what can we do next? What can we do next? That's sort of our big picture, if you would, strategy. And of course, we thought we were on a good track here when COVID came along and interrupted that, but that's behind us now. So
let's make it happen. Let's make it happen, Bill.
That's what we're.
If you want, I can contact Craig, and I could even set up a meeting if you want me to meet with Craig. You mentioned his name. I just put it in the chat.
Yes, he and his brother. I followed them. I think it's fantastic, what they were doing and how it all got started. But we need to pull all the voices together of people who say you can. The fact that they were able to grow that youth organization to 3 million young people, it's mind-boggling. And then the thing that brought it down was stupid, but yes, we have to bring people together like that to exchange ideas and figure out a way to work together.
Yeah, let's make it happen.
Yeah. Okay, so we are 2.5 hours here. I'm trying to think of.
Bill, let me just say one thing.
Yes.
While we're talking, I started it before this call. I have asked ChatGPT to give me a milestone history of AI.
Mm-hmm.
And it has done that in CSV format. I set up a Google Sheet. I'm importing that into the sheet. And then every Monday morning at 9 a.m., it will give me a summary of the week.
So you're doing that with the tasks, ChatGPT tasks?
I don't know if it's with tasks. I just said, please give me this. And it says every Monday morning at 9 a.m., I will have it delivered to you.
Okay, it's using tasks on that.
Yeah. And so that's going to be one of the methods I use, besides obviously this group, to keep me up to date. And I'm asking it specifically to give me things that are relevant to my interests.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, and it'll be very interesting to see because when you say, okay, things relative to my interests, one of the biggest challenges is to break the mold, the thinking outside the box. To sometimes we want to look a little in places that we wouldn't normally think to look. And ChatGPT can be real, and all these AIs can be really good at that and exploring that. And there's a prompt. I'm trying to figure out where I saw that. Uh, it's a prompt. Oh, I know where it is. It's a guy named Andy Singleton, I think his name is. He's an expert on doctoral programs, doctoral research programs, and he came up with some prompts. One of the challenges is if you want to go and get a PhD, you have got to identify some area that the world is lacking knowledge in that would be beneficial to the world if we had that knowledge. And so he came up with a number of prompts to go find out what we don't know. Basically, to find out what we don't know that would be extremely valuable to know. So it looks for gaps in areas. And so Andy Singleton.
Cool.
Okay. Okay, guys. So I just want to say a couple of things. One, Stephanie, when are you and I going to meet up again? We used to do it every week.
I know, and you know what? Bill just talked about this expert doctoral helper. Like that's what I'm doing every second of the day and the night. I'm trying to finish my doctoral thesis.
That's what we had agreed on, that you had to do that first, and that's great. But I have people that we can work with for the.
Okay. Yeah, I can meet. Yeah, June's great.
You tell me when. You tell me. So, and Bill,
yes,
you and I obviously have to meet for Monday, to plan for Monday.
Yes, and I posted here. I posted in a shared document the request for people. I talked to Lasinka, and the main thing here that we're looking at now is we have to get consensus on the future, that we're talking about the same future, because a lot of the people that attend our meetings have different ideas of what that future looks like. And if we can't come up with a solution, if we don't agree what the world is that we're trying to improve. So that's where I put that in the document, asking everybody to post their thoughts as to what they believe the future. And I asked some questions that hope will jog some thoughts on that. So we'll see what comes out. And I think that we need to discuss that on Monday to find out, okay, try to get everybody to the same point there.
Yes, you can't do a pilot project and 10 people are on 10 different roads.
Exactly. What we're talking about, for those of you who don't know, we're part of the Commons Cluster of the NGO Major Group at the UN, and we are working on a project there to try to. It's based on a Dutch artist philosopher from the 1980s who wrote a program for a world Marshall Plan there. How can we address poverty and material poverty and spiritual poverty and all that in the world to give everybody a better life? And it was based on the idea that we have to come up with, and at that time, thinking of a supplementary income, but it's really a universal basic income model to be able to provide income that's not that everybody would have, and it would satisfy that need that we've got to infuse purchase power if we're going to spur the economies in developing countries. And so that's what we're talking about here.
So I have to do a presentation about SDG 6. This is the future, what do you call it? Summit of the Future for this group. And so the SDG 6, they're engineers from a research university in New York. They're leading it. So they asked me to do SDG 6, and I'm like this was just last week, and it's going to be in June. And I'm like, oh my God, I can talk about the environmental components of it and why it's good and the engineering side. So I said to them, I said, I would present if we could do some successful models that are working in different parts of the world. They're like, oh, no, no, there's not time. And that, guess what I thought of? AI. So I just want to say that it can work as a powerful tool. I mean, I'm using AI all the time. My hesitation all the time is that the verifications and making sure everything that I say is, I have to go and verify it. And it's just my paranoia.
No,
more.
you have to. Because you have to. Yeah.
Yeah. I just feel like I just can't take the information, and
No.
it's I'm so uncomfortable with it.
But you can employ AI to help with that verification process too, though.
Oh, okay.
Joan, SDG 6 is water, sanitation, hygiene. Why are you speaking about that?
Well, believe it or not, I spent 10 years trying to convince municipalities in Ontario to look at their water systems. And so my role is to talk about the sustainability of it, the environmental side of it, and why it's important, more of a biodiversity sort of thing. And to present SDGs as one of the SDGs that are not meeting the requirement for the 2030 agenda.
Are you identifying the reasons why it's not meeting the standard?
Well, like I said, I'm talking about the environmental side of it. Someone else is going to be presenting on that. There is a 24-hour marathon, and there are speakers every hour. So it's worldwide, and people are speaking about different things.
I would love to either participate or at least listen in.
Okay. I will send that.
That's my field since 2007.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, Joan, in case you're not aware, Stuart is the technology head of WashRag, the Water and Sanitation Rotary Action Group.
Oh, okay. I will mention it to them. And
also leader of the WASH cadre, the professional advisors for TRF. So please involve me.
Okay, great.
One thing here that I think is very important on any kind of presentations on these things, if we go and present and say, okay, look out the window and see the world that you see today, and let's look and see what could be the next steps or what people are doing. The reality is almost all the suggestions we make and things are things that are going to take some years to accomplish. And that if people go into that thinking that, yes, we're going to do this project in 5 years or 10 years, and we're thinking about it, that we'll do it the way we would do it today, because that's the only world we know, then we got a problem. We really have to get people to adjust their thinking to say, given the trends of where things are going, how do we address these problems going forward? We see things like right now, not only the United States pulling back, canceling all the USAID funding, but we see in Europe there's more and more pushes to stop the international aid. But as soon as AI starts hitting the jobs in these countries, it's going to kill international aid like overnight. And that is because they're gonna be struggling to figure out how do they cope with their own unemployed initially, if we have not put a contingency plan in place, we're going to have to cope with all the people as they're becoming unemployed. And eventually that will hit that point where it just becomes too much. But during that transition period, people are going to be scrambling to say, okay, how do we provide all these people who have lost their income with an income while we leave the rest of the economy the way it is? So pretty much everything, international trade, international aid, almost all that's going to come to a complete stop. International travel, tourism, because people are either not going to have income or they're going to be afraid they're not going to have income in the near future. And potentially they're going to be seeing crazy types of inflations and deflations going up and down, driven by all that. So I think here, this is the biggest thing that we've got to figure out, is how we get the world to really be aware of the changes that are happening. I think I mentioned 65% of the world population has zippo idea of what's going on with AI. It's actually much higher than I think it's like 85% in a lot of the developing world. But even in the developed world, it's over 60%. The United States, 60% of the population has no clue of what it's really capable of. Yes, they've heard of it, but they don't know what it really is, what it can do, and how quickly it's evolving. So they have they're not looking and saying, oh, in 2 years, this might be happening or that might be happening. And even though, some people might say, look, there's an 80% chance that's not going to happen. That still leaves a greater than 20% chance. And that 20% chance is greater than the odds of you're putting a bullet in a revolver and pointing it at your head and pulling the trigger. So how many people would be willing to do that? So we really have to get the awareness out, and really get the awareness out that there may be some new jobs coming, but that's going to be, they say, oh, everybody's got to train to be a supervisor. We're not going to have a world where 100% of the population are supervisors. And so if we look and say, okay, there might be roles for 10% of the population, we can't go and train everybody to say we're going to put 100% of the people into the top 10%. Yeah, that just doesn't work. And it's almost like going and saying to everybody, okay, you want to train to be a star basketball player, right? The odds that you're going to be able to be that, there's only spaces for a very tiny, tiny, tiny share of the population to be something like that. We have to get reality into people's thinking, and we have to get people to be aware of what is likely to come, and to be aware of the things that we've got to be talking and thinking about before they happen. We have to be like the weather person who says, okay, hurricanes form in the Caribbean, and they could take different trajectories. We need to know what those different trajectories are and what is the likelihood of each. And we have to say, if it's that one, what's our plan? If it's this other one, what's our plan? Because it's happening too fast. And like I say, the comment from the head of Claude is that we're going to lose Claude.
Stephanie?
Yeah.
Could you take a look at the chat and the photo I've just shared?
Sure.
So, Stuart,
I'd like to suggest to Stephanie that we work with Joan and Stuart on this.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that, by the way.
I want to work with you, Joan, and I think Stuart could be a great asset. And Stephanie, take a look at the photo I just shared in the chat.
Joan, I have registered for the conference, so
okay,
we can chat offline, but I'd love to be involved.
Okay, great. I'm not the organizer. I was just invited. So we all have to introduce everyone to it. So
maybe you can get me invited, because I can represent two groups, River International and Transform International.
So what I might, oh, sorry, what I may want to suggest to you guys is a suggestion. I'm not the organizer, I'm not the decision maker. I wanted to suggest, since I have, I think, an hour or something or two, if we do it as a group, because I'm suggesting that we have as many people speak as possible. So that works for me. I didn't even plan this, so there you go. I was thinking it in my head. We could give these sort of community actions and ideas and even examples, because that's what's important. So I will talk to them about that. And is all of you willing to be on the on that session as well?
I am.
When is it?
Stuart.
For sure.
Okay. Great. Sorry.
And Joan, the question I have is, okay, there's 24 hours of stuff presented. How will it be captured and distilled?
Yes, I asked them that as well. So they're answering all of those questions, because remember, they're researchers. So I said, what is the reason for this? Why do we want to do this? What is the outcome? All of those questions I've asked them. So I'm there.
And you should be asking, the question should be asked to all the speakers about what might AI and automation mean for their suggestions and plans going forward. What I'm holding up here, this is the announcement that was made. The CEO of Anthropic warning that AI could wipe out 1 in 2 white-collar jobs in the next 5 years.
Well, I put that link in chat, and we've seen it.
Yeah. So the thing here, again, this goes, how many people really are aware of that? If you watch CNBC, which is our financial television network, that's all they talk about all day long now. But for the average person, how many people that you speak to, if you ask them, okay, what's your plan when there's no jobs in 5 years? And how do you think they would react? Right? And if they're just, I mean, I can tell you here, within my own family, the typical reaction is, no, 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 I don't want to hear. That's
Well, another thing, Stephanie and Joan and others, I am having a conversation right now with the official high priest of the Universal Zulu Nation. Just on my chat as we're having this call. So I one of the things we want to do with the story pods, as we implement these water sanctuaries, is to record their stories and train the AI in the ethics of indigenous cultures and hip hop. So that's actually our Winalto project.
Yeah,
Yes,
related to that, Lloyd.
Sorry, we'll have to meet and talk about how we're going to curate the session, because I already know what I was going to do.
Yeah.
I'm willing to share the time, and because I think the more information, and definitely if it's cultural or international, I'm very interested.
Joan, my colleague in Manchester Rotary has a project in Ghana providing clean water there. I can pass on his details if you
Put
want.
your contact information into the chat so we can connect with you.
Because here's the thing, I'm saying that there are projects going on in the world. Stop talking about what we need to do and look at
Don't reinvent the wheel, right?
So
this might be something of interest, Lloyd, to if you're mentioning talking to people in Africa. We've been talking to a group in Rwanda about this idea of creating sort of a contest where we try to get schools, high schools across Africa, the students participating in a competition, who can come up with the best presentation, 5-minute presentation of the Vision Africa 2030 they'd like to see, what the could be Africa could look like. And as a result, get them discussing among themselves what is the Africa they would like to see and how do they get there? Whether it's looking at how do we solve the problems of clean water, of sanitation, of illnesses, and so forth. Because one of the things we have to realize in many parts of the world right now is the water solutions that we've been following, things like creating boreholes and the like. The aquifers are drying up. And the glaciers that have fed a lot of the aquifers in a lot of parts of the world, they're
Are going
disappearing.
away. Yeah.
So that when those aquifers are,
Especially South Asia.
yes, well, especially here, the United
All over.
States,
All over.
east of the Rocky Mountains, they're looking here. Many of the wells and things have dried up because as they keep
Yellow
going
Gullah.
deeper to try to get water, they've actually hit the stone on the other side. In other words, they're already at the bottom of the aquifers, and the problem is that in many parts of the world, this is huge. So the solution, we can't just go and say we're just going to create boreholes, which in many places that's all they've looked at. We need to have more comprehensive solutions. But anyway, one of this idea that we're looking at here is how do we mobilize the masses for anything we're talking about? And one of the things that we've seen is if we can get young people to participate in contests, and we're looking to go through Interact clubs, Rotaract clubs, and Model UN clubs in schools across Africa, and get the students there all talking about and creating these presentations about the vision of Africa they have for the future and how their suggestion of how we can get there. And if we can get here, you've probably seen my wristbands that I occasionally have held up, where I have that quote for 50 million Vision Africa 2030 wristbands, because that's the kind of numbers of people that we need to get engaged if you're going to have make a meaningful difference.
Would it help if we started with getting all the young people in Nigeria to implement
anywhere
this?
right now? Right now, one of the things we're trying to do is we have a connection potentially to President Paul Kagame of Rwanda, who is seen as one of the most successful leaders in Africa. Rwanda has made significant leaps in closing the education gaps. They're trying to get to have every young person in the country have access to the internet and computers. The education in so many areas, they've made so much improvement.
So I'm just thinking we could potentially talk even later today, but in the near future with the head of the Association for Childhood Education Practitioners in Nigeria. We have an MOU with them to work on our programs already. And so they can get access. They're talking to a number of schools right now, and they will be having a tree planting event this July. We're going to be talking about that with them. And they want to establish, and this comes right back to Joan, they want to work with all of the schools across the entire country to establish youth peace gardens and forests in particular. So the tree planting is to produce youth, or to create youth peace forests across the entire country of Nigeria. So we could potentially, if we can also work with Paul Kagame in Rwanda, do that as across multiple countries of Africa.
Absolutely. That was the goal, because Paul Kagame was the head of the African Union for a number of years as well. And the young people we've been talking to across all of Africa seem to think he's an inspiration. So that's the reason why we're thinking if we can get him to be a champion of the initiative. But part of our strategy is, some of the leaders of some countries of Africa have there's a little bit of corruption in some countries, right? So some of the leaders are not necessarily the best leaders. But we've seen every time somebody comes along and says they're a terrible leader, hey, elect me and I'm going to fix all the problems. Or they'll start a revolution and say, I'm going to fix all the problems. And then, but they don't, the problems just go on and on and on and on. So our strategy has been, how do we get the current leaders to become good leaders? How do we create the incentives? And almost all the leaders of Africa, they all want to go down in the history books as the Mandelas of their country. They all want to go down in the history books as the hero that brought their country forward the most. So legacy is huge.
Our approach, as you're probably aware, is we don't necessarily go to the leaders And if it's great, if we have alignment with the leaders, which we're seeing now, we're hoping that we see alignment, for instance, with Mark Carney and his agenda. And so we are aligning up with what we're trying to do with the agenda of the incoming government. So the point, though, of the engagement we're having in Nigeria in particular is that the governors of the states are coming on board. So we're not talking with the national government in Nigeria. We're talking about getting on board all the states, especially along the most populous states along the coast.
Right.
Each one of them is coming on individually, and they're seeing their other governor of the other state saying, "Oh yes, we're doing this in our state."
Mhm.
So they're jumping on board too because they're seeing their neighbors doing it.
Yep. Same
And they're
strategy.
saying we don't want to be left behind.
Right. Same strategy. What we did find, though, in a trial that a number of young people from the UK and Austria, they tried about 7 years ago with the readathon idea. They wanted to try it out and do a pilot in a couple of countries. So Uganda, Austria, I think the Netherlands, a couple of countries said, "Hey, yeah, we're going to do this." And they had a lot of schools that say, "Really love the idea." But then when the date came, nobody participated. And those three countries, Uganda, Austria, in the end, they said, "Well, yeah, it's great. We want to do it, but we can't do it without the Ministry of Education saying we should do it." Because in a lot of countries, the schools have no authority to act on their own. They have to have the approval of the Ministry of Education. And we have 150 ministries of education represented in a group in UNESCO that we believe we can bring into work with us.
Well, the good thing about the approach we're taking, and I'm taking the advice of Joan here, don't reinvent the wheel.
Mhm.
We are just piggybacking on events that are already happening. They're already being planned by the local regional governments, and they've been doing them for years. These tree planting initiatives have been happening for year after year after year after year. We're just saying, oh, instead of just planting trees, we plant youth peace forests.
Yeah, yeah.
With
The only question is, though, Lloyd,
that's the approach. Is
Yeah.
we're not saying we want to create a new thing. We're
And
going to
don't,
go in
because
there.
it takes too long to organize, and the time gets
So they're
into
doing it
the-
already anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Support them and show
issue,
respect.
Yeah, the issue is, though, when we look here at exactly tree planting exercises around the world, with the exception of Pakistan, I don't think there's any country in the world that is planting anywhere near, maybe China and Pakistan. But otherwise, right now, according to AI, it would take 5 million trees planted per hour, every hour, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year for 5 years to just get back to where we were on trees. And so
What's the baseline year?
Part of the 1992, I think it was the Rio Summit, the year of the Rio Summit.
Well, Bill, you and I could argue with this forever, but I'm not going to. What I'm going to say is, going back to the peace forests, as you know, Lloyd, I'm also working with IEEE to do the community resource centers, and we're working with the people of the ODX, which are a group in Kenya that they're called the ODX, which means keepers of the forests. And so they're want to replant the trees because when the British was invaded, I'm going to say, but colonialized Kenya, it went in and cut down the forests arbitrarily to build a railroad. So you have this open space. So they want to rebuild. And the UN has acknowledged that the country of Kenya owes the ODAC money, but whether they'll get it or not is, we don't know.
The
Anyway,
UN has.
sorry? Oh, I thought somebody said something. So we're going to be working with them to do a forest program. So just want you to know that as well. So for those of you who don't know, the IEEE has a IEEE Smart Village. I always have to make sure I qualified. I'm on a committee called the Community Resource Center. And what we're doing is instead of going in and creating one project, we're doing a multi pronged process. So telehealth, environmental, small business, trees, victory gardens, things like that, so that the community can choose from the menu what they want to work on. So we're not coming in and say we're going to do trees because they may not want that. They may want how to do a small business, how to, things like that. So it's gotten quite a bit of attention, we'll say. So we could work
Yeah,
with that as well.
for sure. And we're working with people in Kenya as well.
Yeah.
Actually, Enbu University is where
we
we're
we
having
found
conversations.
we found in Ghana there is a layer of power in the tribal female chiefs that you have to engage with before anything can be successful.
Right. Yes, we found the layers. I like to call them that.
Yeah.
And the different they're very sensitive to the tribal leaders. They're very, like,
Yeah.
so we're working with a community leader in Kenya, so he knows the government. He's worked with community organizations.
Yeah. But
But I
the women in that scenario are a way in. You
Mhm.
know, they're a bit more open to change. And
Yeah,
if you get them on board, then things are easier for you.
right. No, thank you. That's fantastic.
Okay, I just see we just hit 12 o'clock, hit my time here. So we are now 3 hours officially into the meeting. But I think these discussions here, the in the last while have been very good. And the only thing, as I say, I keep reminding is that whenever we talk about doing anything, there's a couple things we have to look at. We have to look at what has to be done on the global scale. I always use that example of the ship that the world, our planet, think of it as a ship, and whether we fix up one side of the world makes no difference if we don't fix up all sides, because when the ship sinks, the whole ship sinks, not just a part. And so we have to think of that, and we have to think about the things that we see coming. We see the dark clouds on the horizon, and it could be a terrible, terrible storm. We have to plan for that, even if the storm might turn away before it hits the ship. But we've got to plan for that. So those two things I think are really important. Okay, we talked about a number of advances that are being made. I expect here within the next 2 weeks, as I say, hey Jen, this week has got a big event that they've been hyping up. I expect we're going to see some really good interactive avatars. A couple of months ago, I had the opportunity to play with one that is similar to what Sesame was in the audio, where you could just hold your conversations with it. But I actually was able to do that with an avatar. It had the correct lip syncing and hand movements and everything. You would swear you're talking to a real live person, but you're not. And I understand in the UK, I forget which train station, there's a store, and there's a screen set up vertically there with an avatar that you can walk up to and talk to it about anything that's available in the store, where you find it, and so forth, and what it's good for. But this is going to be huge for the future. So I thank everybody. And Lloyd, what time would you like to get together?
Um, After this call, if you want to, but what I'd like to do is maybe invite you to a group chat with Hafiz,
Could
and
could
then we
we
can.
could we target that in an hour and a half?
Yep, whenever
Okay.
you're ready.
So 1:30, and the only reason I say that is my wife's uh she's been preparing lunch, and so I don't want to keep her waiting
All
that
right,
long.
no problem. I got to eat too.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I thank everyone, and then Joan here for the document. I'm going to take a look later today, see what
Okay.
kind of responses we're getting
Okay.
for that, and I may go and try to post into the same group, send out to them some videos about the latest announcements about job losses, and also this paper about how to close the economic gaps in the global South if there are no paid for jobs.
Right.
Right. What do we do about that?
Okay,
Okay.
so on my part, I'll wait for that and read it before Monday, I hope. So Stephanie, you said you wanted to be on the waters SDGs, or is it just Lloyd?
Yeah, let's talk.
Okay, so Lloyd, Stephanie, and Stuart's gone. I'll send an email after I send the organizers say this is what we're thinking, and if they approve. If they don't approve, I mean I have nothing to do with it. I think it's a great idea if we all did it. So
Could you copy me on that as well, Joan? I don't.
no worries.
So just I put my contact, the standard contact.
Yeah.
Use that Youth Peace Roots Gmail.
Okay. All right. Okay, guys.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much.
Have a good
Make
day.
make the change.
Bye.
Let's do
Bye
it.
now.
Bye. Bye.